I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and at 19 years old, I went to prison. And I spent the next 7 years incarcerated. Right now, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have 6 children in all, but I only have 3 small ones at home with me. When I came home from prison, and I kept registering to vote, kept trying to get my rights restored, and I was getting turned down left and right because they would say, well, the class felony you have, you won't ever be able to vote. So I kind of just gave up on it and didn't look back.
There are 24 million Americans who have felony convictions across the U.S. About 80% of those folks do have the freedom to vote. Many just don't know it. We started the Restore Your Vote program to help fill that information gap. So we provide a free online confidential website that allows people to go on and figure out if they have the freedom to vote in their state by answering very simple questions. We partner with grassroots organizations all across the country, and we help provide them with legal backup, expertise, funding, so that they can build sustainable systems in their communities to help people know if they can vote, and if not, to help them get through their state's voting rights restoration process.
This was important for me to really get involved with because there's a lot of family members who I know need their voting rights restored. So some of the first people I called were my uncles and my cousins, because I know this is just a huge issue in my community.
We started working with an organization in Tennessee called Free Hearts, which is an organization of formerly incarcerated women. And a lot of the folks in the group had gone through the experience of trying to get a certificate of restoration.
When it comes to Tennessee, we are an extreme outlier when it comes to felony disenfranchisement. We've been for a while #1 for the disenfranchisement of Black and Latino voters, but now we are overall #1 in the country for felony disenfranchisement.
In Tennessee, we disenfranchise approximately about 470,000 people. And about 360,000 of those folks are living with us in the community.
I done got in some trouble in, I guess it was 97, 98. I didn't know that they would take your voting license for catching a felony, but I got a felony. I'll tell everybody, the last president I voted for was Bill Clinton. So that's how long it's been since I voted.
In the lead up to the 2020 election, they mailed me my pardon, allowing me to vote in Virginia, but that wasn't good enough for Tennessee. These people don't want me to vote. For some reason, one person with one vote terrifies some people.
Tennessee has one of the most confusing, one of the most convoluted process in the entire country. It's very legalistic. People can't afford lawyers. And so what we have seen is that, people only get so far and then they, have to reach out to us or, try to find another organization to help them complete the process.
It could take months, it could take years. I was able to get restored through this whole process of us figuring out how to restore our voting rights. When I finally did get my voting rights back, I eased on down the road up in there. I cried. It was a very proud moment when I finally got them back, but leading up to that, it was very frustrating, it was very confusing, it was very expensive.
Some of the most challenging parts of getting your voting rights back are all these paperwork you have to do, and that you complete the paperwork and then you go back in there and say, oh, well, there's another paper that you have to complete. And it's like, I was just here and you didn't say that. It's overwhelming, and it can be really discouraging to people when you have to go back 15 times to just get the right paperwork in place to be able to move forward. A lot of people doing this on their own give up because of how complicated it is, intentionally complicated.
If you look back at the history, a lot of this has been about stripping the political power of Black people. There's always been this relationship between the rise in Black political power and Black people being able to have a voice in their own communities, and this backlash of like taking away the rights to vote. Sometimes I think about the fact that, you know, us try to make things better. It's just like they just keep pushing the goalposts down the line, just moving the ball down the court.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating for me as a lawyer that is working with people trying to restore their voting rights. And, you know, it's very disheartening to see, you know, people give up because they cannot go all the way through this process.
I was, you know, discouraged a lot because I even turned away from politics altogether. I stopped watching the news. I stopped being concerned about political races.
I thought it was gonna be a breeze, but it was a lot of hurdles and roadblocks. One being, you have to have all your court costs paid. That's the first thing.
Tennessee is one of only a few states that requires any legal financial obligations to be paid, court costs, restitution.
And those laws are basically a modern day poll tax. What they mean is that two people could be convicted of the same crime, and a rich person can buy their right to vote back, and a poor person will be disenfranchised forever.
We are the only state that requires child support as a requirement.
I had custody of my kids, but I still was paying child support to their mother. And I fought for that, and they pretty much told me, oh well. So I paid child support while I had custody of my kids.
And that kind of smacks of like these sort of old Jim Crow tricks to keep people from voting. So we, Free Hearts, the Tennessee NAACP, and Baker Donaldson decided to sue over this and brought a case in federal court.
However, after the Supreme Court decision in Falls v. Goins, the Secretary of State interpreted that decision to mean that everyone in the state of Tennessee had to go to court and first get their full rights of citizenship rights restored, and then fill out what we call the Certificate of Restoration to get your voting rights restored.
So now people are having to go to court to restore their voting rights, put on evidence, file petitions. To make matters worse, at this current time, they have also said you also have to be able to restore your gun rights in order to get your voting rights back.
I didn't know I needed a gun to be able to go vote. It seems to me that if I wanted the right to own a gun, that's what I'd have been looking for. But really, I want to vote.
And so many people cannot restore their gun rights under law because the law says that if you've been convicted of any violent or attempted violent crime or any felony related to drugs at all, you can never restore your right to own a gun in Tennessee. So those people are now basically permanently disenfranchised. So over and over again, they keep changing the rules and keep making it harder for people to restore their right to vote.
I mean, just me as a person and me as a man, if you have something taken away from you, that's really not a good feeling. You had a right to speak. You had the freedom to speak. And I feel like even though it's one vote, it's your vote, my word should be able to count. And since I got in trouble, it's been your word means nothing. You know, no matter what I've done or what I'm doing or what I'm going to continue to do, they look at it as, okay, you had this, so you're nothing.
Why are they so adamant about not having me vote? Why am I being excluded? Why am I being written out of the equation? I pay taxes, I pay my bills, I abide by the law. I've had enough taken from me in a lifetime. More than enough to know that I appreciate the right to vote.
Just the thought that somebody is even out here fighting for people like me who deserve to vote. You know, we spend a lot of money. We raising children, we work, we do a lot of things that contribute to society, and here we are blocked from making decisions that will ultimately determine our own fate.
I think the felony disenfranchisement in Tennessee really damages our democracy. The more participatory our governance is, the better it is. These people should be able to vote on, who's making laws in their city, in their county, in their state, and in this country. And so if we're intentionally excluding people, I think that hinders us moving forward.
Ultimately, I think not just in Tennessee, but I hope, just like all across the United States, that we get to a point where people will never lose their voting rights. So like that's the ultimate goal.
If we keep building up this movement, eventually we are going to be able to overcome, and we are going to be able to restore voting rights en masse across this state. We're going to be able to free the vote, and I honestly believe that.
Well, how does it feel knowing that you're going to be able to vote?
Well, it feels great. It still frustrates me. They beat me out of an election, but I'll just vote all the harder the next election, that's all.
Well, when you get to cast that ballot, send me a picture with your I voted sticker, okay?
Okay, I will. I'll certainly do that.
You can find us at our website, restoreyourvote.org, and you can reach out by email or by phone. We're here to help.